like you have such a unique style for your industry.
Fucking wear my tank top now, and I got fake tattoos that I just printed out on a laser printer. So I'll do
There it
that.
is.
Let's do that.
Case in point, right? You have such a unique style. And do you feel like I just always want to know, like when I see you and I watch you interact, it's atypical of your industry, I'm guessing, based on what I've seen. Do
That's
you find
true.
that that's an advantage for you?
I mean, it's a huge advantage in the health club industry because people in the health club industry don't like bankers or people in finance. They specifically went in to work in the health club industry to not do that kind of job.
Yeah.
So when someone like me comes and I'm basically just the soccer goalie that, was in high school and I'm just, looking for a football to throw and kick, they're like, wow, you could also be our finance guy. That's cool. We'll take both.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's cool, man. I'm sure I'm one of those guys. Like this is sort of dressing up for me during the week, Got
Yeah,
the
I got you.
logo on the shirt and all that.
Is that your real signature though?
Yeah, it is.
I always thought about maybe somebody would like counterfeit my checks if I did that.
Well, I don't know.
Well, you're throwing your signature out there to the world,
Well, you could write bigger checks than I can, so
I mean,
you got to be more careful than me.
I'd rather just cash them than write them.
That's
all right,
awesome.
cool.
How did you get started in this? Not just the Halo sector, but I love going back to like when you're a kid. Were you always a business-oriented, entrepreneurial kid? I mean, growing up on Long Island, right? I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'll tell you what happened actually. I was always an athlete growing up, so I was always in team sports. I started out playing soccer goalie, not for the reasons that I would have been a good goalie, but because I was able to use my hands and I didn't have to run. And I used to have access to this change jar that my dad had. So every time the ice cream man would come down the block, I'd go load up on like Big League Chew and candy cigarettes and Fun Dip. And I used to hide them underneath my radiator. So I got a little chubby as a kid. And I ended up having a shop in the Husky department of Sears. You have like elastic jeans.
Listen, I know exactly. You, dude. That's where the complex usually begins.
Yeah, so I'm always an athlete, and then I started to lean out, and I became a good athlete. But my dad used to be the CEO of a beverage equipment company, and he would come home every night, and while I'm doing my math, like algebra, he'd be helping with algebra, and he'd be flipping through spare parts reports. He was the CEO of the company, but he was the guy looking at all these sheets saying like, all right, I need another 100 of these coffee roasters. I need another 100 of these bolts. So I was always watching him on the business side and thinking that I would go into some facet of business. And then I had a really good math teacher back in the day, Mrs. Howell. And I gravitated towards math. So if you saw my SAT score, you might think that I wasn't from this country or English was not my first language, but I was really good at math. I was pretty weak at reading books because I was outside playing, running bases, not, reading books back in the day.
Yeah. So, but were you the kid did you start a business as a young guy?
No. It's funny you say that because my grandparents lived down in Florida. And I used to go down there and pick seashells, and I used to get these little googly eyes and paste them on the seashells and make them look like animal figures, and I used to sell them for like $1. So that was my entrepreneurial activities when I was in like 6th or 7th grade. But I never really got going in business until after college. I didn't have like a T-shirt business or something, or I wasn't selling tickets or anything.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Got it. And for you, were you always? I'm guessing sounds like you're just a pretty good student in general.
Yeah, I mean, I never had pressure from my parents to get straight A's. I was kind of like a B+, A- student, and just found my flow in there. I never really was trying to be like the valedictorian. I think I was like 28. I know I was 28 out of like 160. So I don't know. If you're top 20%, I mean, that's about as good as I need to be. Yeah. If I can just be top 20% at everything, I'm golden.
So listen, before I do the show, I always look up people's stats just a little bit. So here you are, this, top 20 student, but then you somehow end up at Harvard for grad school. Is that how it worked?
Yeah. What's interesting about that is I didn't think I was getting in there, bro. It's just like my uncle was a CEO of a hospital in Mount Auburn, which was basically adjacent to the Harvard Business School campus.
Hmm.
My uncle and I were very close. We're still close, but we're very close back in when I was in my late teens and early 20s. He's like, hey, man, apply to Harvard Business School. I'm like, dude, I'm not getting in there. Like, I went to Emory. Like, I work at Chase Bank. I don't work at, like, Goldman Sachs or something. Like, just apply, just apply. And it turned out that 3 of the people that I worked for in my first and second job before I went to business school went to Harvard Business School. And they wrote me recommendations because I used to work, like 7 in the morning till like 4 o'clock at night. 4 o'clock in the morning, just like crunching away on, whether it was like financial stuff or news or research. So I was very dedicated and a strong member of the team. And those guys basically rewarded me with, I'll write you a recommendation. And business school is a lot about your recommendations, not as much about, your scorecard.
Okay.
And I also had a good buddy of mine, Randall Stephenson, if he's listening, which I don't think he is, but he should be. He actually helped me write my business school essays, and I used to go and sit in his office. We worked together at Chase Bank, and he was an English major. And I would give him my essays, and he would like literally mark it up like I was in like 5th grade English class.
With the
And
red
my
pen.
essays were really strong. So it was more about like earning my stripes. Obviously, I had like 3.5 average or something at Emory, and I did okay on my GMATs, but it was about the recommendations of what people said.
Yeah. No, that's cool, man. I always love hearing people's stories, just how it all comes together and how they got to where they are today. And that's something I wanted to talk about. You're in this Halo sector. What was it, your passion for sports that brought you to the Halo sector in finance?
I mean, it was almost like a dream if I could do it, but I never knew I would have the opportunity to. So what happened, I ended up graduating from business school in 1999. It was an extremely cold summer up in Boston in the extremely cold winter, the winter of 99. So I went on the career site and I looked for every private equity job in Florida, which at the time there were only 3 private equity firms in the state of Florida, at least, reputable ones that had large enough funds that they would hire kids at a business school. And I got a job at this firm called Brockway Moran and Partners down in Boca Raton, Florida. And the way these private equity groups, I know you pretty much know about it, but they set up a fund and they go in like a $200 million fund. They'll go buy 10 different companies in different industries. So these guys owned a aerospace parts company. They owned a agricultural tank business, and they owned the blue chemicals that go in the toilets of airplanes.
Okay.
None of those 3 kind of resonate with me.
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah. So you know me well enough. So I end up going down there August 1st of 1999, and I'm in the partners meeting, and they say we've got a letter of intent to buy Gold's Gym. And I look around the room, and I quickly realize I am definitely the only guy that owns a tank top and has a health club membership in this firm. So I basically drafted myself onto the Gold's Gym deal, and I haven't left the industry since. So I got really lucky.
Yeah.
And, it's definitely been a smooth path because I feel very comfortable in the health and fitness industry just as a person. I can be myself. Whereas I think in other industries, sometimes, as an example, I was asked like 15 years ago when I was working in an investment bank to do my health and fitness and also do nanotechnology for like water filtration. And if you go into those meetings, like you're talking to engineers, you're not talking like you're from Strong Island.
Yeah.
You had a whole new like cerebral academic path, and it just didn't work for me.
Yeah.
You like research it and you kind of bullshit your way through it. But when you're in the Halo sector, like your passion is part of your job.
Yeah.
Which I can't bifurcate the two. That's just who I am. So I got lucky.
Cool. Hey, it's a fun sector. I've been in it my whole life. Myself. I think it's great. The energy's always good. Keeps you peaked. Now a lot of the for you, you're doing deals. Like again, there's going to be a bunch of different people that listen to this. So for you, you're doing your deals mostly with the founders of different companies within the Halo sector.
Yeah, so I'll break it down like this if you want me to just lay it out. So, an investment banker is basically a glorified name for a business broker. Okay, so if you were to sell, if you had a sports equipment, store, let's say like Modell's, okay, and you wanted to sell that business because you wanted to retire or you wanted to build more stores, you didn't have the money to do it, so you wanted to take on some capital from a different group or from an individual, somebody's got to structure that deal. Someone's got to say, if Dana, if you own Modell's, they would say, okay, you've got $100 million of revenue, you make $10 million of cash flow. What's a company like that in this sector worth? So that's what my team and I would do is figure out, how much is the company worth, how to structure the deal, how much debt you could put on the company, how much equity you should take in. So that finance is just a game, just like everything else. And if you went and tried to play baseball and not know the rules, that's like trying to do a deal with a private equity firm or a family office or, even like a wealthy player, like if they want to go and invest in a Dunkin' Donuts or an Orange Theory Fitness, if they don't know the rules of how these or the rules of the game and how people think about valuation, you can't do it. It's like you need an advisor. You need someone to coach you through that game. So that's how I look at it. So I'm kind of like a consigliere is what I say. And I'm like kind of like what we say with Integrity Square is when you hire Integrity Square, you're protected by the square. So there was one day I looked up the word client because I didn't know where the word client came from. I usually do this. I like find a word and I figure out like where does it come from. So the original word client came from someone under your protection. I was like, okay, that makes sense, right? So anything you do that you don't know how to do on your own, and you're not supposed to know how to do it unless you do it, you got to get somebody to tell you how to do it. That's why you do what you do, because you got experience.
Right.
That's what you need. So that's how it started, and that's basically what I do. I help people put deals together and structure them fairly. So whoever's taking money off the table is treated fairly. Whoever's put money in is treated fairly. It's documented properly, and everybody wins. That's my ideal scenario.
That's cool. Yeah, I was thinking about this. There's going to be people that listen to this that are they just started a company and they're looking to grow this thing and sort of take it to the next level. Should you? I mean, if you're that kind of person that just started a company and you're looking to eventually sell to private equity or build the way you just suggested, is it wise to sort of get the counsel of somebody like you, like earlier than later? Because I feel like a lot of companies, they wait till they get to a certain point and then they start having those conversations. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not here to do like a commercial for myself or anything, but you got to find somebody. You got to get an advisor. You got to get somebody on the board. I think I used this when we spoke one time. Experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. Okay, so find somebody who basically trailed a similar path that you think you're going on, and let them kind of be like your guardrails. When you go bowling and, like you go to the kids and they got like the guardrails up so it doesn't go in the gutter, like you could find those people. And it's important to figure out what types of people you want on your team. And everything that happens in sports happens in business. And you and I talked about this on our podcast, but, I got to hire the right people. If you've never started a company, you might think, hey, I got to hire like a chief operations officer, on day one. You probably don't. You probably need like a chief marketing officer before you need an operations. Like, let's sell it and see if anybody wants it. And then we'll figure out how to organize it properly so we get a good supply chain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that. I think people today, they get so far ahead of themselves that they don't even see if their product can sell.
I think also a lot of problems when the markets get hot, everybody thinks like, I got this great idea. just because you have an idea doesn't mean it needs to be a company. It could be a product. Okay. Like if I want to make some cool, I'll give you an example here. I gotta find it though. So I got this, I found this like mini microphone stand. It's like plastic, right? So I've been using it for like my Zoom calls.
Oh,
as
wow.
like a shtick, you know what I mean? Like I'm a stand-up comedian, but people think either my head's too small, my head's too big, or my microphone's too small. So someone's like, hey man, you should set up a company and sell like video conferencing gear. I'm like, no, I shouldn't. Like I should just make 10 of these and send them to my friends.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be a company. So I think a lot of people say, I'm going to create $1 billion business. There aren't that many $1 billion businesses out there.
Yeah.
Right? So start small, figure out a frustration that you solve better than anything else out there, and then craft that into a business model that generates profits. And then people want to invest in you because they understand what you've done and they'll help you scale it. But you got to start small. Somebody came in the other day to our office and said, I want to get to 1,000 health clubs. I'm like, how many do you have now? It's like 0. I'm like, why don't you get 1? Okay. And live in it and figure it out. And then once you figure it out, then we'll do 5, then we'll do 10, and then we'll go from there. But people get caught in where the future may be instead of focusing on like, how does this, every business is a model. It's a model to make money and to help solve problems.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. That's so well said, obviously.
All right. Well, that's why I got invited on the show.
Yeah. No, listen, I you know what it is? I love, you know, I should call this like the Long Island business half hour. Because I love guys from the streets of Long Island. You know, they're pretty rough, right? But it's like there's a street way of doing business. Like there's a way, you know, it's just a different way. That's what I found.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely didn't grow up like on the streets, but
no, I know. I'm kidding.
You know, but you know, look, everything that's simple makes sense. You know, and when you know you start, you know, what's a lemonade stand doing? You know, in a park. Oh, people are thirsty. You know, like somebody's got a frustration that's solving a problem, and they're selling a 50-cent lemonade for $3. Like that's a business. Think about every business is actually that simple.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's a technology company like Salesforce.com, everyone's like, that's a complicated business. Well, everybody sells. Everyone's got to keep their shit together of like who's calling who. And they started small, and now it's, you know, the largest sales management company in the world. But it started with, hey man, this sales function isn't working. And nobody's like figured out a better mousetrap.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, reminds me, I was talking to a buddy of mine, Kevin Plank from Under Armour, and he's like, listen, I made one white shirt and I sold the shit out of it for 7 years. He's like, everyone else was making so many different SKUs. I made one shirt and made it great.
Yeah, and he crushed it. And that's like a singular focus.
Yeah. That
most entrepreneurs just get caught in. There's 100 things to do, but they're actually sequential. You can't do them all at the same time because you lose.
Yeah. How do you manage that, you know, in what you do and how you've built your company?
You know, as I was thinking about this call that we're setting up, I was thinking about every day there's a win and there's a loss in something that I'm doing. And I was trying to figure out, as I've got this like reawakening over the last 90 days of sheltering in place, of like, you got to celebrate the wins and you got to like isolate the losses and figure out like why those losses happened. Some of it's just like your return on your time. And like, if you pick the wrong clients to represent, or you pick like really difficult deals, you got to always say, what's the probability? You know, probably when you were back, you know, in the Yankees, it's like, okay, if we're going to, you know, we're going to pitch this guy, you know, but he's not healthy enough to pitch.
Yeah.
You know, so what's the probability of us winning, you know?
Yeah. It's like, there's players that are high maintenance, low output. And then there's high maintenance, high output. And then there's low maintenance, high output. So we always would prefer the low maintenance, high output player. Kind of the same, you translate it to sports, you know?
Yeah. So, you know, go back to your question though. I think, you it's an emotional roller coaster ride, and every entrepreneur, you're like, you're standing on like a cliff pretty much every day. And there's either like a golden bridge that's going to show up or like you're going down, and it weighs on you. And I think the stress that people have on themselves, whether they got investors, whether they got accounts receivable that don't show up, whether their accounts payable, they can't stretch it out anymore. They got a bank loan. I mean, it's stressful, starting a business. And, once you get into that business, it's hard to sell a business. There are more people that want to sell a business than want to buy a business.
Yeah.
So if you go down a path, sometimes you got to it becomes your life. And, you got to pick wisely what you do, because it's hard to shut things down, I think.
Yeah.
People have a hard time saying, all right, I'm giving up. Like in a game, you and I were talking about this in a sporting event, like the clock stops. In business, it never stops unless you make it stop.
Yeah. So do you find for you, like one of the things that comes natural to you, one of your gifts is staying focused?
Well, I don't know if we were live on the podcast or not, but you were gauging how long we were going to be, if I could actually keep my ADD, in check here. But when I'm focused on the right things, I'm laser focused on it. What I've done, and one of the mistakes I've made, which I hope other people, whoever's listening to this, do less, right? If you spread yourself too thin, like everybody says that, you spread yourself too thin. In business, like you spread yourself too thin and it materially affects the outcome. And at the end of the day, my firm, Integrity Square, we'll do like 5 deals a year max, probably 3. And those will generate, multi-million-dollar in revenue, but we might work on 10 deals. And we probably should only work on 7 until those other 3 know.
Yeah.
And have like a formula on why we're not taking on those deals. Either we didn't like the people, the deal was too complicated, we don't know if there's a buyer for the business, we don't understand the business, so we shouldn't even be representing them. So I think that's a key focus. And also don't fill up your time because you think you have capacity.
Yeah. I like that. Do less. I keep that book on the one thing on my desk. It just is stay in your lane and stay singular and hit singles.
Yeah. So like right now, during this whole COVID shutdown, we're getting calls about doing restructuring, right? I don't know anything about restructuring. All right. All I know is that a lot of people are losing money, and you got to go to a bankruptcy court, and you got to cancel your leases with certain landlords. You got to pay 70, 60, 50, 20 cents on a dollar to your vendors. I mean, it's like going through like I've never been married or divorced, but I'm thinking it's like going through like a really bad divorce.
Yeah.
Is going through bankruptcy. So someone's like, hey, could you do a restructuring? I'm like, no, dude, I don't know anything about that. Now, if I didn't have self-awareness, I'd be like, yeah, I could do restructuring. I mean, it's part of finance. I just have to, run some models differently. So I'm staying away from things I don't want to become an expert in, and I'm not going to try at age 48 to try and become an expert at something.
Yeah. So and you know what, I imagine in you not overstretching, you not trying to become an expert in everything, it allows you to enjoy your life a little bit more too.
I mean, I've only enjoyed my life for real over like the last 90 days, because I used to be on an airplane like 3 days a week. At least I would wake up in hotel rooms. I'd be waking, I'd be the last guy off the plane because like the flight attendants waking me up. Someone's like, oh, you went to Phoenix and Denver. How was it? Like, how was it? I went to 3 meetings and I went to the airport and back. There's no enjoyment of that. So yeah, so I think people need to like put their life first and try and fit their job into their life, instead of thinking that you're going to work hard and then you're going to, enjoy it when you're 65. Like, that's not a way to ride, you got to ride it at the same time. So I've had a little bit of an awakening recently.
So would you say staying home and being forced to stay home was what caused that time for you to think, or did somebody sort of probe at you to spark that awakening?
So I set up in Westbury, and I got this sunroom that my mom would always sit in. And I got my laptop set up where I could see some flowers, and I see some squirrels, and I see some blue jays. And I got to tell you, bro, for the last 20 years, like, I didn't even recognize if like a bird was chirping or if like a flower or plant was growing, because I was so immersed in like getting a deal closed or making sure I got my to-do list checked off. And you gotta live it. You gotta like take it in. I tell people sometimes, like, everyone forgets we're on a planet that's moving 66,000 miles an hour and rotating at 1,200 miles an hour around a fireball. So the only thing you should really worry about is gravity. The rest of this is just like something to do, right?
It's true.
So I'm trying to tell people, like, calm down. Like, you don't have to grow as quickly as you want to grow with your business, because that adds more stress and that takes away from your life. So try and figure out how to live it, in balance.
Yeah.
But I'm making some progress.
All right. So is this something you're going to continue to improve upon?
I mean, the first time we met, I was kicking 25-yard field goals. Now I'm at 37. So, I mean, I'd say I'm, it's about continuous improvement. Yeah. So I'm sticking with this plan.
I love that. I work with a lot of guys, over 40 that have been grinding it so hard for so many years. And there's usually something that causes them to slow down. We didn't know it was going to be COVID or something like that, but it's amazing how your life could just get that much better and better. And you could become even better at what you do through that level of awareness. And that's,
I mean, the crazy thing that has occurred to me over the last 30 days is I've lived in like 6 different cities. I lived in New York, Boston, Miami, Phoenix, Los Angeles, probably a couple other places, Atlanta. I'm most comfortable where I grew up. I've been chasing opportunities. I've been chasing like deals. I've been chasing new ventures. And at the end of the day, I went to Harvard Business School. I went to Emory, this and that, and I did XYZ deal, big deal. Like, I just like walking down the street and going to the park where I grew up.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe there's something to be said for that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's funny you say that, because I think I was listening to Bruce Springsteen on Netflix, and he says something like, "Hey, I've been around this whole world. I lived in California, and where did I end up? 5 miles from where I grew up."
Yeah, and he goes to Jersey Strong Health Club, one of our clients. He works out at the gym every day.
Yeah.
The guy can afford his own, home gym. Yeah. So like, people I think once you understand yourself and not actually get caught up in like who you're supposed to be, but going to Harvard Business School, like, that's like an honor, but it's also an anchor, right? It's like a weight that like, okay, what am I going to do that's going to like blow the doors off of something? It's like, you know what, dude? I don't know. I'm just going to be me. Let's see if that works,
Yeah. I love that, man. That's what I love this exchange, because your authenticity shows big time. Every exchange I've had with you.
Yeah, so likewise. And I read the book, so
yeah. Listen,
I read your book. I believe.
We're all through a journey. We're all on a journey, right? We got to embrace the ride.
Yeah. I mean, everything that's going on right now, with the protests and, social unrest and change, kind of flipping topics here. I mean, it's a time now when everyone just needs to figure out, like, what's the right way that things should evolve, and how society should be, and how you treat people, and also how you treat yourself.
Yeah.
And take some accountability, for what you do. And I don't know, I feel like there's positive change coming down the road, but I think there's going to be, obstacles and speed bumps along the way.
Yeah. There's always turbulence on the flight to change, right?
Yeah.
So, Pete, you know what? I have a couple of quick hitters for you, but there's a lot of I coach a lot of younger people as well that are sort of getting their bearings. And the one thing they try to do is set long-term goals. And everybody I bring on the show, I always ask about just goals. Are you a goal setter? Are you a 5-year, 10-year projector? Or are you more day-to-day?
If I was at Harvard Business School, I'd give you like a different answer, right? I'm like, I got a 5-year and I got a 10-year plan. We actually did in 2017, we did a 2020 vision of what I wanted Integrity Square to be and who I wanted to be. in that mix. Like I purposely didn't call it, this company does not have my last name on it, you know, where some groups have like, you know, more capital advisors or whatever. Like this isn't about me. Like this is about a group of people helping other people succeed. So so in 2017, we said, okay, I want to be like the central intelligence agency of the Halo sector. And I want people to use the term Halo, health, active, lifestyle, outdoors, instead of using the term wellness, which was started by a guy at the Mayo Clinic in the 20s. He was trying to find the opposite of illness. So if you're not sick, you're okay. Not very aspirational for guys like you and me, right? So I wanted people to start using the term Halo as like a sector. And I wanted to be known as like, hey, Pete Moore, Integrity Square, like these guys have the information. They know what clubs are for sale. They know which executives are available. They know what the multiples were that were paid. They know how this thing was financed. Like that's what I want to be. I want to be like this repository of information, and I want to release the information so everyone could succeed. And I want to bring more capital into the Halo sector and the health and fitness industry, because the more money that comes into the industry, the more people that are working at jobs that they hate could afford to come and work in our industry.
Yeah.
You couldn't work in a health club if you like had 2 kids, and what job are you going to get? Like,
yeah.
There's no CFO of a health club chain before private equity put money into health clubs and built, 50, 100 health clubs. Then you could afford to pay somebody $200,000-300,000 grand so they can live on Strong Island and, have a Lexus.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Where do you see the future of Halo? Where, that sector?
Look, I mean, this COVID thing is really interesting because, everyone's starting to work out outside, and there's a lot of push into the digital and the home side. I also went to Walmart the other day to try and buy a bicycle, and I was pissed that I couldn't get one because they were sold out. And I was also excited because now all these people that live an unhealthy lifestyle are actually buying bicycles. So, look, I mean, there's never going to be a pill that comes out that you can just eat whatever you want. This is not happening, as far as at least in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Maybe in yours, because you take better care of yourself than I do.
I try.
So you got to exercise. You got to be careful about what fuel you put in your body. So that's just all about everything that all the companies and the entrepreneurs that we work with are trying to find solutions and create brands and create products and experiences that make people happier, healthier. And, our goal is I want to solve loneliness and I want to solve obesity. And I think you can solve both with what experiments are being done, in the fitness industry.
Yeah. Do you know, are there any specific that you find value in that are sort of bringing that connectivity together in terms of experiments or what's going on?
Yeah. I mean, one in particular, just because I'm focused on the digital side right now. There's a friend of ours named Dan who started a company called BurnAlong.com, and it basically allows people to work out in groups. So it's like a Zoom video, and there's interactivity, and it's customizable for trainers and groups to have people. And they started focusing on the older population. So getting engagement with those people digitally, I think is a huge step forward. I think, maybe some of the push related to assisted living facilities or over 55 communities. There's a place called, I don't know the place in Orlando, outside of Orlando. It's called the Bridges or something.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
55,000 people or something live in this community, and they're playing pickleball, they're, junkies, that's great. Anything you could do to get people moving and engaging. 5 years ago, I think I went to the Clinton Health Matters conference, and the CEO of Humana Healthcare was on a panel, and President Clinton asked him, he said, what's the biggest issue in the healthcare industry? And the guy said, loneliness. He's like, if we can get people to engage, where they need to get a ride to go and play bridge, where they need to get a ride to go see a movie with their friends or go out to a restaurant, everything starts with being a social, like we're social animals,
Yeah.
right? Social animals are not meant to be in isolation. So if we can get people to engage, get somebody into a health club, get somebody into a boot camp, get somebody playing tennis. Dave Ganelin and I were interviewing a guy the other day, and he was a really sharp guy, but he was overweight, and he knew it, and he was very honest about it. And I'm like, why aren't you going to a health club? We were having a very honest conversation. He's like, you know why? Because you guys don't make it fun. He's like, you're setting goals that I will never hit.
Yeah.
He's like, I go play tennis. You know why? Because it's fun.
Yeah.
So stop telling me how much weight I'm going to lose. Stop telling me like what my body mass index is. Just make it fun, and I'll do it. So we got to like think about the messaging, but I mean, there's no better place to be than in sports and fitness as a profession. I mean, like how lucky are we?
Oh, it's the best, man. I mean, you could, because if you get it right, you're definitely changing people's lives. And fitness, like that gentleman was saying, it goes beyond just your physicality. I tell you, I believe in that 100%, the loneliness side. People are there's a lot of depressed people walking around that you don't even know are depressed or dealing with something psychologically.
Yeah, look, I mean, to be honest here, like, I've been on a roller coaster ride with investments that I made or companies that I've started that haven't gone according to plan. And I used to detach myself from social activities because I was a guy that went to Harvard Business School, and someone's like, hey, man, how's your company doing? I'm supposed to say, bro, I'm crushing it. Yeah. Okay, but I'm not. And I don't want to lie about it. So I decided to disengage for a period of time. So I wouldn't go to dinners. I would like take some time off from like being with some people that, I knew would ask me about how I was doing in business. And I was just sick of like not telling the truth. Not that I was lying, but I would just say, yeah, it's going, it's going well. It's going all right. But it wasn't, Yeah. So I think a lot of entrepreneurs, we joke around to an extent that, what we're doing right now in COVID is like entrepreneurial therapy. Yeah. Like I got guys calling me up saying like, my landlord's, wants me to pay for April, May, and June rent. I don't have the money to do it. I got to shut down. So there's a significant amount of stress on business owners right now, in addition to people that don't have a job. Yeah. Where I don't know if the stock market and like the average person understands the amount of like emotional stress that's about to be layered on over the next 12 months. And people are going to get evicted like starting in September. Like that's ridiculous to me, right? Yeah. How am I supposed to pay the rent if I don't have a job? And now you're going to kick me out of my apartment. I mean, it's going to be like ICE coming into like, like a building and just like kicking out like, people that have, ordinary jobs. I don't know what's going to happen, but there's a lot of stress coming down the pike, and this loneliness thing's going to be a focal point of like, we got to fix that. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. Listen, for me, I'm in the industry in a different way, so I hear a lot of those conversations that you're having with individuals one-on-one, successful people that are, getting their nuts kicked in and they don't know how to talk about it, or they can't put it public because of, they're trying to still seek investment.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the tough things about entrepreneurship is, you're always marketing and you always want to tell the truth, but if you tell too much of the truth, you're definitely not getting the investment, right?
It's true.
So you gotta say like, hey man, here's like the 5 things that we're crushing on. Here's the 5 things that aren't working, but I still need you to put money in. So I'm going to disclose everything to you, but we're not going to talk that much about the 5 things that aren't working. Yeah. So it's tough. It's tough getting money for a company, especially when every company is an experiment. Right. And for those people that are listening, like venture capital, they call it like a Series A round, Series B, Series C, Series D, E, F, G, and then you go public, right? Mm-hmm. That's how like the chronology, or you sell. So Series A is basically somebody putting money into your company to fund your experiment. If that experiment works, then you get the B round. Then you get the C round. So everything you're doing is like an additional experiment. Yeah. And you have to think of your business as you do an experiment, like figure out what works, what doesn't work. just one other point. I know I'm talking a lot here, but you invited me
No,
on the show.
I love it, man. Yeah, it's awesome.
One of the things somebody said to me the other day, it says they own a fitness boutique studio. And they say the data says this. I'm like, bro, you have one studio. What the fuck do the people say? Don't tell me what the data says. What do the people tell you? Like, talk to them. This isn't like Walmart, like a 3,000 transactions where you can't talk to. You have like 300 members. Like, find out what they want, what they like about this place, what they don't like about this place, and then fix it, and then figure out how to make money by fixing it. And then you have a business that you could replicate. Yeah. It's kind of simple when you break it down, but some people get so caught up in things that don't matter, or like spreadsheets and
software
returns and code. I'm like, dude, it's like, are you solving a frustration, and do people like what you're doing? If they do, then you got a business. Now figure out how to make money from it.
Yeah. I love that, man. And you know what? I think if more people went into it as an experiment, again, it's less pressure because you're not trying to knock it out of the park, day one. It's, that you're it's a competitive event.
Well, look, if you're starting up a new company, to use like a baseball analogy, like I'm getting you to invest in my company as like a friends and family round. It's called friends and family because it actually are only friends and family that are willing to like give you money, because no other guy's going to give you money for like your experiment. So it's like bunting, right?
Yeah.
Like, I just want to bunt and see if I can just maybe get on first base.
Yep.
That's all I want to do. So when people say like, oh, how much market share are you going to get? Dude, let me just see if I get to first base. If I get to first base, then I maybe having a business that I can now grow. But any like friends and family, like you got to assume you're not getting your money back because you're basically giving somebody money to do an experiment. So don't expect it to work.
Yeah. I love that, man. I wish I had this talk with you years ago.
Better late than never.
I know, right? So I got one more question for you before we go. I call it the Becoming a Champion show. What does the word champion mean to you?
I think it means putting in the hard work, but being at the right place at the right time. I think there's a lot of variables in life that you can't control. And I think being a champion, like you got to set yourself up to win, but there are certain things that you might not have control over, but all you can do is control the controllables. Yeah. So be a champion is like, you put in the work, but you also might have gotten lucky, or certain things like fell your way. So being a champion is awesome. But knowing that you put in the work and you did the best you could is also important.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I like that. And I also like too, like I appreciated the football videos of you kicking, because it's true. It's almost like the champion's journey is exactly that. It's trying to get another 5 yards and another 5 yards and still knock it through the goalposts.
So like the point is, if you started up a company in January of this year, right? And then like COVID hit, like you probably not going to be a champion.
Yeah.
But did you do anything wrong? Like, did you not have the best business plan? Did you not have the best, here's my 100 things to do? You can't control it. Like I had a guy who we were going to sell his business for $85 million in December. He's like, no, I want 100. Business is probably worth 25 right now. So you got to be, if you want to be a champion, you got to like be at the right place at the right time, make the right decisions, have the market going your way, have the right team members, have the right advice. Yeah. But I think if you're a champion, look, that like I watched that Last Dance with Jordan.
Oh yeah.
Like, that ball hits the rim sometimes and comes out,
Yeah.
But you were there. If you're in the game at the last second, I think you're still a champion.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I love it. Pete.
Awesome, bro.
Thank you.
Great to see you.
I'll be back up in maybe 2 weeks. I'll reach out.
Listen, as you know, I'm still undrafted. So if you want to post my field goal video from that one was from like 34, I think, feel free.
Send me something fresh.
I got a new one.
Once they let you get back on the field.
All right, I'll say, yeah, no, I got a sign up there still. I knocked it down the other day and pleaded ignorance with the guy.
You got to call it more field. Someday it'll be more field.
That would be good. Then I'd really be a champion. All right, bro.